Marsha's favorite vase.
She always says don't play ball in the house.
Pork chops and applesauce. That's swell.
Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. Hey, you guys.
Welcome to Here's the Story, a Brady Bunch podcast. Hey, I'm not going to tear this thing apart. It's my favorite show. Episode 24, The Grass is Always Greener. I tried something a little different this time. I just watched the whole episode through and then went back and took notes. Man, that was so much more enjoyable. In case you didn't know, I really like this show. So this is the episode where Mike and Carol trade places. Mike's been helping the boys get ready for baseball season, and Carol's been helping Marcia earn her merit badges for Girl Scouts. I think it's Girl Scouts. They never mention it, though. They're both beat tired from their efforts, but think the other one has it easy. They each think the other is just having fun and couldn't handle the hard work that they themselves are having to go through. Mike drives the point home with the line, "You women just don't understand." Alice has the brilliant idea for them to switch jobs. For one Saturday, Mike will help Marcia earn her cooking badge, and Carol will prepare the boys for their next baseball game. That night, they both sneak off to memorize 3 books apiece on their subject of choice. Oh, if only studying something new were that easy. So now it's Saturday morning, and Carol is acting like super coach for all of the boys. But they can't all be on the same team, can they? It's a bit confusing because they're all in uniform and practicing, but there's too big of an age gap between them to be preparing for the same game. Now we've got Mike carrying in a store full of groceries to prepare for his day with Marcia. Basically, he has to watch Marcia cook while Jan and Cindy sit quietly. Boy, this competition seems a bit lopsided. Alice is upstairs helping Carol get into a bath because after all the morning's exercise, she can barely move. While downstairs, Mike drops all of the eggs, slips and falls on them, sprays down the whole kitchen with chocolate splatter from the power blender, and pulls everything from a cabinet down on top of him as he falls off a stool. It sounds ridiculous, of course, but the simple pratfall humor works on my dimly lit caveman brain. Mike tries to give Alice the day off, but she has nothing else to do, so just stays in the kitchen in her maid outfit watching the show. Alice's life is empty. I'm just kidding. Her life is full of Brady Bunch fun. If you watch Maureen McCormick's face during all the kitchen scenes, it always seems like she's about to crack up in between her lines, like a kid that keeps slipping back into joking and playing every time the teacher turns her back. She must have thought that if she wasn't speaking, the camera wouldn't see her. After the food is cooked, Mike has about 1,000 pots and pans to wash. He starts by mopping the floor, which takes about a minute before he's lying on the floor with his head in a bucket of soapy water. Later that evening, Mike and Carol are getting dressed for dinner, and while neither can barely move from muscle soreness, they admit to each other that things weren't as easy as they thought they would be when wearing the other's shoes for a day. They head downstairs to eat the dinner made by Marcia, and everyone's all dressed up with their hair neatly combed. After dinner, the kids all run off to the family room for some TV. You know, that's kind of nice, getting all cleaned up and presentable just for dinner in the house. Going off as a family to enjoy some shows together afterward. It's so different than laying in bed watching people fall down escalators on YouTube with a paper plate full of Hot Pockets on my chest. The episode ends with Mike scoffing at how easy it will be for Carol to help Marcia do some sewing next weekend while he's off playing football with the boys. When Alice is about to suggest an idea, Mike and Carol stop her before she can speak another word, and we all laugh as the credits roll. This was one of those episodes that had no guest stars and took place entirely on the house set. Of course, you can get a lot out of a cast of 9 in a large, interesting set. This is the second episode written by David Harmon, who had previously written the episode where Greg had a crush on his math teacher. And this was the final credit for director George Cahan's 21-year career, even though he lived an additional 21 years after this. During the opening scene, Alice referred to the boys as Tinker, Evers, and Chance, and is shocked that they haven't heard of these baseball players that played during her day. Well, these guys played baseball more than 60 years earlier. Alice is only 44 years old. Something doesn't add up. Robert Reed had many complaints about this episode. He hated the idea of having to do unrealistic slapstick humor like on Gilligan's Island, because he saw himself as a serious Shakespearean actor. He couldn't get over that he was stuck on this type of a show. While repeatedly protesting about how no one would ever slip on a dropped egg in real life, he actually slipped on them and said while he was laying on the floor, "I deserve this." Even though this was the 24th episode to air, it was only the 9th episode filmed. I've always just laughed along with this episode, as I do with all of them, and I was shocked when I learned about 25 years ago that Robert Reed absolutely hated it. He hated working on the Brady Bunch. But now, having read so much about what he went through behind the scenes and thinking about how, when they filmed this, it was before anyone was watching it, and knowing it never had good ratings during its original run, I can put myself in his shoes and imagine how he felt while reading this script. And just because I would love having fun with this, I can see why he wouldn't. But fortunately for us, once those cameras rolled, he gave it everything he had and made every scene work perfectly. Until next time.